Hello, everybody, my beautiful internet friends. Let me know if you guys can see me and hear me. Let's just make sure of that before I dive in here. There's so many of you guys here already. This is so delightful. Hey, Austin. Hey, Alina, I think, Cynthia, and Clarinet, and Timothy. Hey, guys. How are you guys doing today? It's great to see you all here. Okay, so you guys can hear me and see me? Yes, we're good. We're good to go. Awesome. I just got done cleaning up the house some. I have a super special guest arriving this weekend who you guys might actually know of. They're coming in tomorrow, and so we're kind of getting the house all ready for them. So I just got done doing that and playing with the puppies some. So let me know what you guys have been up to today so far. This is the first of a bi-monthly scheduled live stream over on Patreon. My lovely patrons reached the goal of, I think it was 80 patrons a month. And I wanted to make sure I had 2 scheduled live streams every month because I love being able to do this and talk to you guys live. And so we're going to go through and just chat and do some Q&A. And I posted over on the community tab, ask me anything and we'll kind of go through it some in this live stream and also go through some of the patron questions. So Clarinet, thank you for saying my hair looks pretty. I took a shower. I think that was my, that was the big thing I did to make my hair look decent today. I usually try to go as long as possible without showering. Oh my gosh, it's 1 a.m. where Twice OS is. That's you. It's very late there. Thank you for hanging out with me at 1 a.m. in the morning. Alex, thank you so much. I really appreciate you saying I look lovely today. Yes, Beckman, this is live indeed. And Zena and Caroline, Mother Metalhead, that's a cool username. I really like that. Thanks for being here. Isha and Cole and Tristan and Weird Winnie. Let's see here. Asks, I have a question for you. Do you do art? Yes, I do actually. Not a merch plug, maybe. I drew this elephant here that I put on a shirt a little while ago. So I do draw. I haven't done it in a while, really, like consistently, which I probably should. I miss drawing, but I don't take the time for it. I used to do it a lot a few years ago, mostly pen and ink and graphite, like pencils. Occasionally acrylic paints. I've never ventured into watercolor because that's way too challenging and complicated. It's just not a very, very forgiving medium to use. Zena says that he or she or they are an artist too. That's awesome. Alma, thanks for being here. FG Premier, God, seriously, guys, I gotta learn how to say usernames better. Asks if I like to work out. Yes, I do very much, actually. Being physically active is like a huge part of my identity. I haven't done a great job of doing that in the last 10 months since losing my leg because I've been like, I don't know what to do or how to do it. And there's totally stuff that I could do like at home or at the gym. I just haven't really, I've kind of just been waiting for a leg to make that happen. And I also do a lot of jujitsu and I haven't been able to do that just yet. But prior to that, I did do, don't judge me for this, CrossFit. Yeah, I know. I did do CrossFit. I was one of the dreaded CrossFitters. And jujitsu and mixed martial arts and just going to the gym. I really like lifting and hiking, just doing as much as I can. So I love being active. Zena says you actually read my comment. Well, yeah, of course. I love actually talking to you guys here. Jeff says he's judging me. Jeff, I can understand that. CrossFit is worthy of being judged. There's such a weird culture around CrossFitting that, we get a bad rep. I haven't done it in 2 or 3 years, though. Robin asks, have I tried swimming with only one foot? Yes. Yet. Yes is the answer to that. I actually got the chance to do that. I don't know if you guys saw my video, 2 videos ago, I talked to, oh no, it hasn't actually been released yet. Never mind. Okay, so I do have a story for you. This will be an upcoming video where I actually go into more detail about it, but my friends invited me to go to this soaking place with them with mineral water and stuff like that. And I went and they actually had a saltwater pool there. And I was like, I've not tried swimming without a leg yet. I wonder what it's like. And it was really cool. Everyone makes jokes about don't you just swim in circles or whatever? And no, you don't at all. It is you kind of feel off balance a little bit. And it didn't, like, it hurt a little bit just because of how my leg is right now, but it was so cool and it felt really freeing. Like I was able to just move around. Like when I'm trying to move around, like outside of the water, there's always some kind of restriction or some kind of mobility aid or something that I need. But actually being in the water, I can just like do me. Like I can just be me, which is really, really, really cool. So that has been, that was a cool experience. And it made me think that I should look for a local place to swim. It would be good physical exercise. It would actually get me moving. You know, Froggy Girl asks, do I want kids? Nope, I don't. Frankly, I just don't. Neither does Brian, which is great because if one of us did and one of us didn't, I think that would cause a lot of stress and anxiety for our relationship. But as of now, we are good with our 3 dogs, 2 cats, and 3 rats. They take up a lot of time, a lot of cleaning, and a lot of work. Nothing compared to actually having, you know, human children, but we're both pretty busy. We both have a lot going on and different goals, and kids are just not something that's really in our agenda right now. So can you show us your dogs, asks Mimi. Well, there's only one that's quickly visibly available, and it's this one right here. She's taking a little nap. Let me make sure I can set down without it falling down. Yeah, so that's little Sophie. She's sleeping. So what I want to do is actually go through the Patreon Q&A. So if you're a member over on Patreon, you get to ask a question. I like post a post once a month to ask people to ask questions, and I make sure I answer all those. And then we're gonna like dive back into live Q&A. And I mean, a pretty basic question. We start with Emily asks, "What's my favorite food?" And I'm, you know, ashamed to admit this. I may have mentioned this before. It's like hands down pizza and ice cream, which I'm pretty sure are the least healthy possible things that I could answer that with. Big fan of cookies and cream ice cream. That's like my go-to. And pizza's just kind of always a win. You can't ever go wrong. How about you guys? Like what's your go-to food, healthy or not? I guess most people's favorite foods are probably like comfort foods. So maybe I shouldn't be so ashamed for loving all the horrible things. So far, mac and cheese, Alfredo, always. Oh, that's a great answer. Yes. Pizza, hands down. Pizza, hamburgers, pizza, chocolate spaghetti. These pizza, more pizza. Everyone seems to be in agreement on pizza. And steak. Caesar salad. I actually really like Caesar salad. It would not make the top list for me, but I respect that for being your favorite food. So many votes for pizza and ice cream. I love it. So George asked what my favorite thing to like. What's something that I do for fun that makes me like basically forget about the rest of the world. I think his actual question is, what do you do that makes you say, well, that was bloody fun. Let's do that again, which I think was a fun way of phrasing that, George. I'm still trying to figure that out. There were things that I used to do like that, like jujitsu. Jujitsu was 100% one of those things for me that just makes me like so alive and just it's so fun for me. And I absolutely adore it. It's like the rest of the world disappears, right? And so that's definitely something. Going to movies, like going to movie theater movies is definitely something for me too. That's a really like passive activity, honestly, but again, it's one of those things where I just become so engaged in a good story, and I'm like, the theater's usually dark, and so it's just relaxing and fun, and there's no pressure or stress there, and it's like everything else in the world disappears. I think my definition of fun is like when I can forget that the rest of the world is there, and I'm so engrossed in what I'm doing that it's just what my mind is completely absorbed into. And art has been that way for me too. Like when I've allowed myself to really dive into art, the world will just dissipate, and I will be having an amazing time and forget that time exists, forget where I am, and just be working on what I'm like the picture or whatever I'm trying to draw. And it's wonderful. So I'm still trying to find other things that are really fun for me now that I can do. Oh, here's Monkey. We got a little monkey down here now too. If you guys want to see the other puppy, there she is. She's the elusive monkey, I like to call her, because she usually just lurks in dark corners. The shepherds are really social. They always like being around us, you know. Sadie and oh my God, I forgot my dog's name, Sadie and Sophie. But Monkey likes to do her own thing. She's a bit of a different kind of dog. We adore her. Let's see here. I'll answer one quick question from the live chat. That Dino Girl asked, Joe, how did you accept that you had one foot? By the way, you're the best. Oh, thanks. I really appreciate that. Thanks for being here. You know, I don't think I have yet, to be totally honest with you. I don't think I have accepted that. I think I'm still in the process of figuring out what that actually means. When I went on 2 trips in the last couple of weeks, which is weird because I don't really travel a lot. And what became glaringly obvious to me is that like my conscious mind has not yet figured out, like it has not yet caught up, or maybe it's my subconscious mind with the fact that I am an amputee, that I'm missing a foot, because I don't actually think ahead. I don't actually think ahead far enough to, you know, make plans to accommodate my new lifestyle. I just like go about it thinking like, oh, I just need to pack and leave. You know, I don't think about like, how am I going to take a shower safely there? And how am I going to get around safely there? And all of that. Yeah, so I don't think I actually have fully accepted it yet. I think it's kind of a process of grieving that I'm still well in the middle of, especially with everything that is now going on facing another surgery. Can you guys still hear me okay? There's some noise going on upstairs. I just wanted to make sure. Brian's being great and he's cleaning the house, and I just wanted to make sure you guys can still hear me. Robin asks if I have ever thought about riding a horse again. Yes, 100%. I cannot wait to get back on a horse. I probably wouldn't ride like I used to. I would only do so under the supervision of professionals in like an arena or something like that. Just because I would rather not fall off galloping in an open field all over again. And I'm glad everyone can hear me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Greatest ever says, you know, thumbs up for Brian. I'll let him know that you said that. I do want to answer Alyssa's question real quick. Have I ever thought about getting a service dog? Yes. And actually, when I was getting on the plane to come home from the Amputee Coalition conference, someone had this adorable Labradoodle. It was this big, like, golden fluff ball. Her name was Tater Tot. And she came up to me and asked me if I'd ever thought about having a service dog, because she kind of saw me riding the struggle bus and like trying to get things together. And she noticed that I was like trying to like, I'll always like massage my shoulders and my neck because they always hurt. And she was like, you know, he's trained to sense pain, and he's trained to stabilize me because I'm always off balance and all that. And I was like, that sounds like the kind of dog that I need. So I've always thought that I could train Sophie, you know, the one sleeping right next to me, to do some cool things for me. She's very, very responsive. She's very trainable. She's great with people and dogs and kids and everything, but she is 2 now, so I'm not sure. Because we live in a heavily military area, there are a number of places that train service dogs, which is awesome, but it's also not cheap. So that might be way down the road. We'll see. But I have absolutely considered that, and I think it might be really helpful, especially with like, you know, pain and anxiety and PTSD and stabilization and recovery and all of that. So dogs can do pretty cool things, and I'd love to, you know, either train Sophie or look into getting a 4th dog. It'd be a great excuse to have a 4th dog, right? Hopping back into the Patreon questions, Gara asked, I asked this in a recent yoga video, but I'll ask again, how's your balance when doing yoga? Oh, specifically in tabletop and balancing on your residual limb. Okay, so this is a good question. I did a video where I was doing yoga, it was the first time I kind of done yoga on camera post amputation. And it took me a little while to adjust to the difference, because part of my body weighs significantly less than the other now. Like one leg weighs like twice the amount almost that the other one does. And so doing certain positions in yoga and like moving and stuff like that, like I was super off balance at first, but it just took a little while to adjust. It just took a little while to like figure it out. And even though I actually technically have a balance disorder, I have a pretty decent sense of balance when it's not acting up. Like I'll tip over and get dizzy a lot, but when that isn't happening, especially like if I'm on the ground or something like that, I'm pretty, like I have pretty good stabilization. So I was able to adjust to it pretty quickly. That's a great question, Gara. Chris asks, I would like to know how long it was between you deciding to have your amputation and your actual surgery. That, yes. The answer to that is it probably should have been longer. I don't regret how short it was. I think I needed to sort of rip the Band-Aid off and just get it done, right? Like I just needed to do it once I had made the decision. So I started seriously considering it. I started considering it in January. Like I knew that, oh my God, that might actually be a possibility. Holy crap. And then it became more and more and more real. And once I had an ankle surgery in March, and we're talking 2018, and that didn't work, by the time that July rolled around, I was looking at more drastic options. And I think when I actually started to really make the decision, it was, let's see here, August, like end of August. And then I made the decision end of August, and then I had the surgery early October. So August, September, there was like really a month and a couple weeks in between making the decision and having it happen. And my understanding is that's not the case for a lot of people. A lot of people actually wait a lot longer in between. So I think it was good for me because there was so much there's just so much emotions that were fit into that time, and a lot of just like being numb, and a lot of like, what do I expect and how much can I actually prepare? And I just need to do it. And so I wanted to get it done as soon as possible because I actually did know that it was a decision I needed to make after having thought about it seriously for a couple months, but realistically for like 10 months at that point. And I always knew that it was an option in my life for like 15 years. So it wasn't a new possibility altogether. But yeah, so there wasn't a lot of time between making the decision and actually having the surgery, which didn't give me a lot of time to freak out, which is good. I just freaked out after. So David asks, sorry if you've said this and I didn't catch up, but how old are your dogs and how did they come to be a part of your family? So they, I think, and he said I don't need to answer this question since you did it on the dog video, but I actually will go through it because why are my fans making weird noises? I'm not sure. So my dogs, for anyone who don't know, little Sophie here, I'll just give the visual representation for you guys. Sleepy Sophie is, she's being possessive of Monkey over there. She is 2 years old, and she's kind of going through the terrible twos. She's not being super nice to our other two dogs. Like she's not being horrible, but she's just being really territorial. And so we're trying to get her to work through that. And then Monkey I think she turns 9 this year, which is crazy. And Sadie, who's my other floppy-eared German Shepherd, is also 9. She's a little bit younger than Monkey. Kate and Allison asks, Joe, for us non-American subscribers, would you give us a brief overview of how health insurance, works and what is and isn't covered? Yeah, so how many of you guys are in the United States versus not in the United States? I would love to know, because when I talk to people, like when I was at the Amputee Coalition, I talked to people who are outside the US, and the process for going through surgeries or even getting prosthetics is so massively different. And the other thing is it's so different depending on what kind of insurance you have. So I was lucky enough to we have pretty decent insurance. With that being said, pretty decent insurance only covers some things. It only covers part of things. Let's see here. Let me just remove a comment here real quick because people are being silly. So it looks like I have a lot of people not from the US, which is really cool. And a lot of you guys are from the US. So, oops, gosh, I think I messed up the chat stream here. I sure did. Hopefully I can get it back. In the meantime, I'm just going to keep answering that question. I'm sure it'll update and I'll be able to see your responses here again. So how it essentially works for anyone who's not in the US is you have an insurance company, and for the most part, they have to approve anything that happens. So when I had my amputation surgery, they had to give me permission to have it done. And they gave me a time restriction on how long I would be allowed to stay in the hospital. And if I stayed in the hospital longer than that, then I might have to pay for it all myself. And paying for it all myself would look like hundreds of thousands of dollars, very possibly. Gosh, I still can't see any of the chat. I'm gonna chat myself and see, can you guys hear me still? Here's to hoping the answer is yes. Gosh darn it. I tried to report the message and then everything just kind of went haywire. Oh well. So for me, insurance will like make you pay a deductible, which is like you have to pay all of your medical expenses up to a certain point. And then after that, they'll pay a portion of it. So they'll like pay a percentage. So for some insurance companies, it's like, we'll pay 60% of all your, medical expenses and you have to pay the other 40, or it's like 80-20, so on and so forth. And a friend just texted me, Erin, thank you, that they can still hear me. Well, that's good. Hopefully the live chat will eventually come back. Here's to hoping, because I would love to see you guys and your questions. But in the meantime, I'll keep talking. And it's such I feel like I'd love to be a part of reforming the healthcare insurance specifically process in our country, because I had good insurance and it's still insanely expensive to have anything done. And for people who don't have insurance or who have not great insurance, it's just bankruptcy. Like you can't get healthcare. You can't live. You can't like go to the ER. You have to be like, well, do I want to pay my bills for the next year, or do I want to like go to the emergency room and have my life possibly saved? And we're lucky enough to be in the position where, like I said, a lot of the things are covered, but like for instance, insurance will cover one prosthetic leg every 3 years, and it's based on how active you are. So for me, I thankfully qualified for like the highest activity level, so they'll pay for like a pretty good one, but they'll pay a certain percentage of that pretty good one, and prosthetic legs are still pretty expensive. But other countries don't pay anything for prosthesis, like at all. I was talking to my friend Chris over at the Amped Life. I would super recommend checking out his channel. He's from South Africa, and there is no coverage at all. So it's you pay for it yourself, or you're like SOL. You just don't get it, which I think is really heartbreaking. And I actually have a campaign coming up with an artist who I'm really excited to be able to introduce you guys to soon, to help raise money for people who can't afford prosthetics, because I feel like that's just a crime, not an actual crime, but just a crime if people can't afford to have a leg or an arm or something that they really desperately need. Cindy asks, I know that you have a Chiari malformation. Quick side note, Chiari malformation is when your brain is basically too big for your skull, and so my brain kind of presses on the back of my brain and my spinal cord, and it causes a lot of the symptoms that I have, like the migraines and the chronic pain and issues thinking and speaking and stuff like that sometimes. So I know that you have Chiari, and I noticed in your stretching videos, it seems that your arms overextend. Have you ever been diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome? Chiari and EDS often go hand in hand. Okay, so yes. No, I haven't actually been diagnosed. Let me just clarify that. But since I started this channel, EDS, which is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, is not a common condition. It's not a common, I guess, disease, I think you would call it. But I've realistically probably had, I would say, 20 to 30 people privately message me or comment and say like, hey, I have noticed things in your video. I've noticed how like much you can stretch, or like how your body moves, or symptoms you've talked about. And I have EDS, or I know someone who has EDS, and you need to get tested for this, which is just, and the more that people have said it, I've been like, I hate going to doctors and talking to them about stuff I don't have to talk to them about. And so I put it off and put it off. But I got another message a couple of weeks ago saying like, hey, I have this and I really think you have it. And I don't want to give you advice you're not looking for, but I just wanted to let you know. And so I was like, I feel like if I'm looking for a sign, that's it. And so I actually did go talk to my doctor and start the process of getting tested for this. And what it essentially is it's a connective tissue disorder. It's a genetic condition. It would kind of explain everything in my life, down to like stomach pain and issues healing from surgery and the Chiari malformation and migraines and being like super, super flexible. Like for instance, I don't know, let me see if I can properly demonstrate this. Like my thumb can touch my wrist, no problem. And apparently that's not super normal. And my pinky can bend back really far without hurting. And in jiu-jitsu, it's hard to tap me out sometimes with like certain joint locks, just because I can bend really far. And I guess that's a symptom of it as well. And so I'm in the process of getting tested for it, but they sent me to get a genetic test for it, like to actually get my genes sequenced. which is pretty crazy. And they told me that the earliest test was in 2021. So I was like, well, that's just not going to work. And I reached out to everybody on Instagram. By the way, if you don't follow me on Instagram, I would love it if you did, because I got so many great responses from people with advice saying to talk to a rheumatologist, because they specialize in not chronic conditions. I'm looking for a different word, but they specialize in these kinds of conditions and can actually diagnose it as well. So when I have the energy to actually make a phone call to another doctor, because I'm real tired of being in doctor's offices, I will call a rheumatologist, because I do have a referral out to one from my general doctor, and see if that's what's going on, because like it would explain all of the things. It would explain a lot of my symptoms. But I think it's really interesting that so many people have asked me the same question, Cindy. So thank you for asking that. Sierra asked, did Monkey come with her name, or did you rename her when you got her? Good question. I did not name her. The only dog I named was Sophie. So Sadie and Monkey both came with their names. And if you haven't heard their story, I got them both off of Craigslist. They basically saved my life. They're wonderful creatures. But they, Monkey came with her name, and I asked her owner, I was like, how did you name her Monkey? That seems like a really unique name for a dog. And she said that I think her answer was she was looking for a unique name for a dog and thought it would be cute. So there isn't like a deep story behind it or anything like that. But yes, she came with her name. So by the fact that I can still see 129 people are here, I'm guessing that you guys can still hear me. Which is great. I can't see you, which is super frustrating. So what I'm going to do is continue to answer questions that you guys posted in the community section. And we're going to go through that. And then I'm going to, click some buttons and see if I can get anything to show up, because this is super, super annoying, because I like being able to actually see you guys. But it's okay if that doesn't happen too. I think I had, how many answers did I have? I had like 300 answers to the, Ask Me Anything thread, which was really cool. I think one of the coolest things about any of this, about, having a platform and being able to talk to you guys, is that I could actually talk to you guys, and I love being able to answer questions. So ironically, another question by Olivia is, do you have any desire to ride horses again as an amputee, or is that not something you've looked into? When I released that video about going back to the field where everything began, where I fell off the horse in the first place, so many of the comments were, are you ever going to ride a horse again? Or do you hate horses or anything like that? And I always have said it's not the horse's fault that I fell off of her, right? Like, I fell off the horse. She tripped, but that happens. I wasn't a super talented rider, and I've never had any animosity towards horses. I do have a very high level of respect for them, because they're dangerous, beautiful, amazing creatures. But a couple years ago, there is a therapeutic riding center. I always say riding really carefully, because people always think I'm saying writing, like writing a book. There's a therapeutic horseback riding center here in town that serves people with disabilities and veterans and people dealing with mental illness and all of that. And I got involved there as a volunteer a couple years ago. But I quickly realized that, like, oh, this could be really, really beneficial to me. And so I actually applied for their program to help with the PTSD that I was experiencing and anxiety. And oh my God, it was helpful. So I got back on a horse back then. I think that was in 2016 or 2017. And you know what? No, it was before that. It was like 2014, because I wasn't married to Brian just yet. And one of the things that just blew my mind, and if anyone is considering, horse therapy, or what the proper term for that would be, I would recommend it, was I always have such an issue with like anxiety, and like I never fully breathe, right? I'm always kind of like holding my breath, and I never think about it. But they actually got me on a horse, which I love being on horses, and I can't wait to get back on them. I'd really like to go back out to this same center once I'm cleared for it, in physical therapy, as part of physical therapy, because I think that'd be really, really helpful. And when I went there a couple years ago, what I learned really quickly is horses know what's going, like they know what is going on inside your body. Like, they realize if you are not okay. They realize if you're having a lot of anxiety or stress or whatever, because your body reflects that. And even the way you breathe changes the way that they respond to you. So even just walking around the arena, like being on top of a horse, if I wasn't in control of how I was breathing, if I wasn't like forcing myself to relax, the horse would not respond to me. Like it would be like all over the place. It would be misbehaving and not listening to what I was trying to ask it to do and all of that. And the instructor pointed out like how tense I was and how I was breathing and all of that. And it forced me to become very aware of how I was breathing, of how I was holding my body, like where I was holding tension and stress, and made me realize how I could actually like release that. And when I did that, it was amazing. The horse suddenly started working with me, and it was so cool. And it was a really cool experience to see how animals can like teach us things about ourselves and how responsive they are to the things that we have going on inside our own bodies. And so, long story short, I would love to be on horses again. I love the smell of the barn. I mean, it's, you know, not a great smell, but it holds a lot of good memories for me. And actually, I recently got back in touch with the people at the barn that I was originally a part of. I didn't know if that could ever happen, but through a random series of events, I was able to connect back up with some of the people I knew back in the day when I was riding, when I fell off and when all that happened. And I really hope to maybe be able to go see them. But there's more of a story to that. I'm gonna make a video about it, so I'm not gonna ruin the video by talking about that now. In the question section, there's another question about how if I want kids, I still don't want kids. Like if we ever, I do want to foster or adopt down the road. Like I would absolutely be a foster parent if we were in a place to do that. I think that would be really cool because there are kids who like need a safe place to stay, need a home, and we might consider adopting at that point. But actually having children, no, I would prefer not to. So Ashley asks, if you could go back in time and give your pre-amputee self advice about post-amputation, what would you say? Ooh, that's a good question. While I'm thinking about the answer, can we just all appreciate how cute this mug is? Brian got it for me, and I think it's quite adorable. I like it quite a bit. If I was to give myself one piece of advice, I think I would say to not minimize the impact that this was going to have. I knew that it was going to be like a big deal, but I didn't know how big of a deal it was going to be, and I don't think there is any way to know. And so when I got into it, like when I had the surgery done and in recovery, I started sort of mentally berating myself for having a hard time and being like, you should be dealing with this better, or you shouldn't be feeling this way, or you know, that argument that I hate, but I still feel it all the time. Other people have it so much worse than you. Like, why are you feeling this way? And I think if I could go back in time, I would tell my pre-amputation self that. And I would also say that setbacks are normal. I think I expected things to be really hard, but to at least follow a schedule, like of what people told me would probably happen. That like, you know, 6 weeks after to 8 weeks after, you'll get your prosthetic and be learning how to walk. Well, that's, you know, that might be a normal thing, but for most people, there are things that happen. For most people, there are setbacks, minor or major. And if I had let myself feel that and know that before, like ahead of time, I think that I would not have, maybe the emotional impact of it would have been lessened a little bit. I don't know if it would have been lessened that much because it's been quite a few months of setbacks, but I think I expected that like if I did the surgery, things would go right because at least I was getting rid of the problem with my ankle, and that was naive to expect. So I think that's the other thing that I would say to pre-amputation Joe. Mother Metalhead, who I think is in this live chat, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going to go back and read your comments when I'm done with this because I can actually see them after the fact, says, I loved it when your hair was purple. It looked awesome. Any color plans for the future? Yes, 100% yes. I really want to get it colored again. Having it colored nicely isn't cheap. And so I think when I had done purple, it was worth it, but it was like a good chunk of change. And so I'm gonna save up until after surgery. We're gonna watch our shekels a little bit. But I was thinking, I don't know, I've been feeling like a light blue. That might be a little too dramatic. I'm not sure. But I also really liked the purple. I just thought the purple was fun. And I can't always be purple, I guess. But let me know what you guys think. The other option I was considering was silver, like it's like I've seen it in a lot of pictures recently. It's kind of like the silver gray. It's very millennial looking. You want to say hey, babe?
I'm there.
Brian says he doesn't want to come say hi to you guys. Poor Brian. He just doesn't love cameras. I'll convince him one day. Sherry says, do you ever get sick of some of the stupid questions people leave? Okay, so I don't think anyone really leaves stupid questions, especially anyone like asking in like the live chat or the Q&As that I do, but I will get, the only thing that bothers me is like on some of the larger videos that I've had that have gone out to like millions of people will ask the same question over and over again. Like on the one that I did when I said like goodbye to my foot, I put in the top of the description, if you want to know why this has happened, like why I had to have my foot amputated, click here. And I put in the top comment, which I pinned, if you want to know why this happened, click here. And I've gotten literally thousands of comments of like, why are you having your foot amputated? Like, why is this happening? And I'm just like, oh, why did you take the time to type the comment, but you didn't take the time to like look at all? Anyways, that's the only thing that's ever kind of like not actually gotten under my skin, but I'm like, can you just do the minimum of like looking before you ask? I don't know. So no, I don't get annoyed with stupid questions. I don't think there really are stupid questions because I know before I was in this position or before I really faced anything in my own life, I've probably asked a lot of stupid questions myself. And I say that in quotes, stupid questions, because there are things that people just don't know, you know, like the video that I did about what do amputees do with the other shoe? Like to me, it's really obvious that like, well, I'm going to need both shoes if I have a prosthetic leg, right? But to most people, that's not obvious. To most people, if you only have one leg, like what would you do with the other shoe? You know, and that's a very valid question. And so I don't think most questions that people ask about disability or anything like that are dumb. I think people are just trying to figure it out. Oh, you guys have to see this. Sophie, come here. Come here, Sophie. So she has taken to carrying around this giant, oh God, this giant orange ball. This is the love of her life. She loves it more than anything. And she'll bring it and shove it in my face. It used to have a tennis ball inside of it before she ripped it open. Go lay down. Go lay down. Crazy little puppy that she is. How many pets do you guys have? Are you guys pet people? And if so, how many critters do you possess? I would love to know. Abby asks, has you and your husband's relationship changed through the amputation? I think that's a really important question to ask. And we did a Q&A. I'm being surrounded by dogs. We did a Q&A a few months ago, kind of talking about that together. But that was something I was really, I don't want to say concerned about, but was really important to me to prioritize as we go through this, because my marriage and my relationship with Brian is like the most important thing to me. I really value our relationship. I really love our marriage, and we put a lot of work into where we are today and the communication that we have. And I knew that like with this kind of major change, you don't know what's going to happen. Like you don't know what kind of wrenches are going to be thrown into things. And this is literally the situation that people sit around and talk about when they're dating. Like, oh, would you still love me if I lost an arm or a leg, or if fill in the blank? Like that's what people sit and talk about as a hypothetical that they never really think is going to happen, but then it really happened for us. And I can tell you without a shadow of doubt, has been absolutely amazing about all of it. I don't think it's changed our relationship, but I think there has been a lot of adjustment and a lot of communication that needs to happen, has needed to happen, and will continue to need to happen, because I've been different. Like this has been a lot for me, and it's been a lot for him. And so there have been like maybe 2 times where we just like, we were both like just exhausted and at their end of ropes, and we just, you know, just had bad days about all of it. But that's been about it. We usually do a good job of talking about things pretty quickly and figuring it out. And I feel really lucky, so incredibly lucky and blessed for that, because I know a lot of people, I've heard stories where spouses will like leave the other person because they're like, oh, you don't have a leg anymore. Like you're a different person, you know, and stuff like that. And that just is really heartbreaking for me to hear. And so I don't think it's changed like the core of our relationship at all. It's just added a new dimension to it. Mari Huana says, how do you stay so strong mentally and physically? Well, thanks. I appreciate the compliment. I think I talked about this in my collaboration with Scott from Depression to Expression, but people are really kind enough to call me strong pretty regularly. And I think the one thing that I could say is I see so many books and podcasts and videos about like 5 steps to being a strong first person, or like how to become mentally unbreakable, or, just things like that, self-help things. And while those are all really good, tips and tricks and tactics, what I have found in my own life is that there are just simply words are hard. There are simply no shortcuts. And the reason I am whoever I am today is only because I've just not given up. Like, I don't have anything super, super special. I don't have anything that's like out of this world or great advice to give, aside from I've just never stopped trying to move forward, even if it didn't look like it was going to be successful, even if it felt like I was failing, even if fill in the blank. I've always tried to persevere, even if it didn't look pretty, or even if, my coping strategies weren't the best. I just kept trying to move forward. And so I think that is the advice I would give to anyone facing anything, or anyone trying to be a stronger person, is whatever life throws at you, just keep going to bed and waking up and knowing that you're going to freaking find a way to get through this no matter what. And that, like, it's okay to have horrible days, but if you have a horrible day, you're going to get through it, and then you're going to figure out how to get back up. So I think that's the best advice I could give on that. And it's not really a 5 steps to success kind of thing. It's just a long process of going through life and choosing not to quit long term. I think we all quit for short periods of time. How do I stay so strong physically? Well, I'm not super strong right now physically. I can do like 3 pull-ups still, which I'm very impressed with myself for, and like 10 push-ups, but I used to be able to do a lot more than that. And I hope to get back to that soon, because like I said in the beginning, it gives me a lot of joy to be able to do physical things. But I do try to do something physically active every day. I promise you it's not impressive. I promise you I don't actually do that much though, but I do try to at least move, if nothing else. How do you keep your faith in doctors? After many of them have messed up and been unhelpful. Personally, with my doctors never believing me, I just don't go to them unless it's an emergency. This is from Haley. Yeah, that is a pretty fantastic question, Haley. I feel like, at least in the society that I live in, there really isn't another option than to try to keep faith in doctors. I'm probably overly hopeful when it comes to doctors and surgeons, against my better judgment, because I've had a lot of experiences where things didn't go right, or people made small mistakes, or people didn't take me seriously, or didn't care, or didn't listen. But at the end of the day, I like to believe that people are trying to do the right thing, and that includes doctors. And occasionally you'll find some duds. And unfortunately, I found that a lot of doctors seem to miss the ability to listen. And after many years in the medical care system and in hospitals, that's like the thing that I look for now. Like, having skill as a surgeon or a doctor is like top of the list, but right underneath that is like, do they actually listen to what I'm saying? Or are they constantly interrupting me and telling me what I'm experiencing, or telling me what's best for me? Or are they actually listening to what I'm saying first before they do anything else? That's really important to me. But I have lost a lot of faith in doctors, to be totally honest with you. When I was a kid, I used to think that they were like gods, right? Like, it was so cool, and they always got things right. And then as I went through life, I realized that, like, doctors and surgery and all of that, it's a lot more of an art than it is a science. There's a lot more of like guesswork than I ever thought that there was. And that can be discouraging. And so I try to keep a fairly unbiased, uncynical attitude towards doctors, but I'll be honest, I don't always succeed. It's a little challenging sometimes. Han asks, how do you walk your dogs as you aren't using your iWalk as much? I don't walk my dogs, and I feel truly horrible about that. Brian has started doing it, which is so great. And then we also take them out to the forest to run, and then they run around in the backyard that we have. But I really want to get them more exercise because they deserve it. But yeah, I've been trying to minimize the use of my iWalk because of my knee, and it just doesn't feel great. So I don't walk them presently, and I cannot wait. That's my like metric of achievement, is when I can take my dogs for a walk by myself at like 6 a.m. in the morning, because I love being able to get up and like feel that morning air. And I'll feel like I've successfully made it through things, at least as a starting baseline, when I can actually go take my 3 puppies for a walk in the morning. If I had one wish, what would it be? Says Mika. Well, that's a great question. I feel like I could take this in so many different directions. Well, right now it's just going to be really shallow and selfish. Okay, are we cool with that? Right now, it's just that this next freaking surgery would totally work magically, and everything would be great and not hurt, and I could walk. So that's the wish that's on top of my mind, at least for myself right now. Let's see here. A lot of these questions are similar about like, have I done any horseback riding? Would I ever do it again? And a lot of these I've answered in videos, like, when you dream, do you have 2 legs or 1? I actually had the first dream the other night where I was walking in the I walk. So it like actually mirrored my reality right now. But generally I either am not thinking about the fact I have legs, because the dream doesn't involve that. It's more like mental, or I have 2 legs in dreams still. But for the first time ever, I had an I walk. So my brain, like my subconscious, is finally catching up with my reality. Papa Munz asks, how easy is it to take care of the nose ring? Were there any issues when I first got it? It's super easy to take care of it now. When I first got it, I'm pretty sure it kind of got a little bit infected. You can kind of see that in some videos. It looks like red and angry and irritated. But you're supposed to like clean it twice a day. I really like it. I think it's really fun, and I find piercings and tattoos super healing and great to get. I would super recommend it for anyone who wants it. Claudia Kornaka, that's a cool name, asks what my favorite movie of all time is. It used to be Lord of the Rings, hands down, all 3. I was such a nerd. I learned HTML, like building websites, so I could build a fan website about Lord of the Rings, because I was a real nerd as a child. I had some friends, but not many. And I was obsessed with those films. Like, oh my God, I learned Elvish, like the language Elvish. I printed out a dictionary. I was so far into it. But aside from that, I also really liked Pirates of the Caribbean and Gladiator growing up. Now I can't think of any movie that like jumps to mind. I've really been enjoying the show Euphoria. It's a really weird, kind of messed up show, so I wouldn't recommend it to everybody. But it's really good and really interesting. I usually kind of like darker shows. My favorite show of all time, hands down, will always be Law and Order SVU. I've literally watched every episode of it. I think there's like 340 by this point, which means it's not a waste. I've not wasted 340 hours of my life. I have invested 340 hours of my life into the best show ever. Olivia Benson is my hero. And Mariska Hargitay, who plays her, it's like my dream to meet her and we'll become best friends. Like, that's the fantasy I have in my head. Anyways, it's never going to happen, but maybe it could. As far as movies, I also really like 28 Days. Not the vampire movie, but there's a movie about 28 days where someone goes to rehab for 28 days, and it's a really sweet film with Sandra Bullock, and I like it a lot. How about you guys? What are some of your favorite movies? And I would love to hear any recommendations. I'm always looking for like good films to watch because I really enjoy, like I said, movies. We went and saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood the other day, and that was actually pretty good. It was a different paced movie, but I really enjoyed it. And I think I would recommend it to anyone. It's pretty long, but I like long movies too, so it was worth it. I haven't seen The Lion King yet in theaters, though. I've heard that one is pretty killer. Juki asks, don't know if you've answered this before, but is there anything you enjoy or any positive sides to being an amputee? Yeah, I think there absolutely are. I think there's some really, really, silly and shallow things like, I don't know, like having the convenience of being able to park close to things is nice just because it's harder to get around. But on a deeper level, I think it's really cool to be able to have real conversations with people. And it's, conversations are started a little bit easier because there's a starting point, I'm also generally remembered places. Like if I go to a coffee shop or if I go to a networking event or whatever, like people remember me because I'm missing a leg. And so it's easier to continue conversations. And it's neat to, I think the biggest upside of all of this has been being able to go through this journey with all of you guys. And that's just been so cool. I've learned so much. And any opportunity that I can deepen my understanding of things that I'm not familiar with is a good thing to me. And I had no idea what it was like to be visibly disabled. I had no idea about any of this. And though it's been really, really hard, I feel like I understand a lot more than I did before. And I try to take difficult situations and figure out what kind of self-awareness I can try to learn from it. And so I've been trying to do that and trying to learn more about myself through this process. And I think it'll be interesting to see where it goes. Like I said in yesterday's video, you know, I can't see the future. I don't know where things are going to be going with this. And I think the other major positive is I don't have an ankle that hurts all the time. Like my leg doesn't feel great, but my ankle's gone, and all the weird sensations that it had are gone. I have different weird sensations now, but it's nice that that part of my life is closed. I'm not fighting to save an ankle anymore. I'm just fighting to make something work for me, if that makes sense. So I've got a couple more minutes here, and then I'm going to have to hop off. YouTuber Kumar asks, what do you do when you're not doing YouTube stuff? Well, I work full time. YouTube is not what I do full time. That'd be really cool to be able to do one day. I, you know, hang out with my puppies and my husband and friends. We'll go grab dinner with friends sometimes, or like I said, go see a movie. That's something we do as often as we can, though not all the time. And I listen to books a lot. I listen to books and podcasts. And I'm trying to think what I actually do with my life. I work a lot. And then I edit a lot of videos. And we'll go to coffee shops all the time and do that because Brian he works full time and he also goes to school. And so he always does homework. And so we're always working next to each other in coffee shops or something like that. And one of my favorite things is to just go to a coffee shop and get stuff done. Oh, we have a surprise, guys. Just for a second. That's it. Nothing more. Okay. I'm gonna answer one more question, and then I unfortunately have to hop off. Let's see here. Ooh, how did I meet my husband? Let's do that. And I like that it's spelled meat, like MEAT, like steak and chicken. How did I meet my husband? So Brian and I met through, he's opening doors and screwing up the audio. So Brian and I met through mixed martial arts. We both went to the same MMA gym. I'm gonna turn the camera on you if you keep squeaking doors. We met through an MMA gym. And so I think I told you guys before, I used to do mixed martial arts fighting. And I didn't know that you could compete in jiu-jitsu because I didn't really know anything at the beginning of being involved in the sport. And one day, the owner of the gym invited me to drive up with them to Denver to like see a competition. And Brian was apparently in the other car that was riding up because he was visiting his sister in town. And sorry. And so we both ended up at the same tournament. And I noticed him from like across the mat because there was like a bunch of mats in the middle. And I was like, oh, is that guy with our gym? He's like talking to all the people that I knew, but I hadn't seen him at my gym before. And then he kind of just came up and found me and started making me laugh at all the people who were fighting, and really stuck in my head. And we kind of hung out the rest of the day. And then he sent me a friend request the next day on Facebook, and the rest is history. So thank you guys for hanging out with me today. I am going to hop off. I've got things I have to attend to today. I'm so sorry that I couldn't see most of the chat today, but I will be going back and reading your comments and answers to the questions I asked you guys. And man, I don't know what I did that made all the chat just disappear. But it's just like a black bar of absolutely nothing. You'd think I'd be more technically savvy by this point, but apparently I am not. But thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I really appreciate all of you, and I look forward to the next live stream. It should be in 2 weeks. Thank you to all of my patrons who make this possible. I am so truly grateful for you guys, and it blows my mind that you support me in the way that you do. I love you all, thinking of you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.